Let's talk about how we can actually use carbs to decrease our cortisol. Hi, my name is Annika. I'm a nutritional mental health practitioner with a master's in health psychology, and I help people learn how to use food to improve their mental health. So this is a graphic I just whipped up really quick to show you exactly how cortisol works in our bodies. So when we experience stress, it triggers that activation of more cortisol because cortisol helps us focus because it's something called a glucocorticoid, and those really actually allow us to have more glucose for our brain so we can focus better in periods of stress. So when we experience cortisol spikes, it triggers something in our brain to crave more sugary foods that are simple sugars. And this is because simple sugars are glucose. They're the quickest form of glucose for our brains. The reason for this is because it's trying to help us regulate that cortisol, because it knows if we have too much cortisol too long, it can actually harm us in the long run. So those sugar cravings are really your body's way of helping us regulate. The thing is, when we actually indulge in these cravings, then it turns into a blood sugar spike. And that blood sugar spike can actually increase our physiological stress, which then secretes more cortisol. So how do we get out of this? The trick is actually choosing a more complex carb and pairing that with a protein. This allows for an extended release of glucose instead of an immediate release of glucose, which means our blood sugar levels are going to stabilize, or we're not going to get that big increase, and then it's actually going to allow that cortisol to decrease. So that's kind of like the basics of the physiology of why complex carbs are so important instead of choosing a more simple carb.